but we were way up in Canada when it went out. And it went all the way up into Canada from Detroit to the East Coast, and there's never been a logical explanation of what caused that. So anyway, I recommend Michael Chossudovsky and his papers, and the speech I gave at the UN was, never take a knife to a gunfight. And I'm from Texas. And you learn early that warfare progresses. And when warfare progresses, when they invented guns, then bows and arrows were not the dominant weapon. And so now we have gone into electromagnetic weapons, laser weapons. So the old weapons have become a knife. And so you're seeing a convergence of directed energy traveling at the speed of light, impenetrable airspace, UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. Those are more and more a part of our military budget. And we have computer guys sitting at a screen operating these planes on the Mexican border, Afghanistan, Iraq. And then you have the virological and bacteriological weapons, and then weather as a weapon. And so I think this century is seeing all of this come together in a, just an amazing speed. And so what I asked people to do was set aside their beliefs about weather, because most people they think God's creating the weather. And I said, God's having a lot of help these days. And in fact, George Bush, when he finally got to New Orleans after Katrina, he stated, it's as if the entire Gulf Coast were obliterated by the worst kind of weapon you can imagine. So I questioned, did he know something we didn't know? But we know that hurricane was steered. It was headed toward Veracruz. Then it made an abrupt turn. It landed 30 miles east of New Orleans, not a direct hit. So if you've never considered the possibility of weather as a weapon, you're probably asking yourself, what would be the purpose of it? Why would a military do that? And I have a daughter who's in the media business, but I wanted her to do a cartoon like the mother goose that comes out in the Nutcracker with all the dancers underneath the skirt. And it's hiding behind Mother Nature's skirts. You can send a drought, a hurricane, a typhoon to a country, then you can come in and act as a rescuer and use your military to occupy a country and be seen as a good guy, because you're not invading that country. But we have Tin Mien U with us today, who is with the U Thant Institute, and he's from Myanmar. And Myanmar was a country that stood up against the United States when they were hit with a typhoon 2 years ago. And our military wanted to go in there and help them, and they said, no, we will not allow U.S. military on Myanmar soil. And so they actually came to the U Thant Institute and tried to have help, in getting AmeriCares in there. So it's very interesting, but we moved military into Indonesia after the tsunami, and we had ships ready to go in there with aid, and yet we had no help for New Orleans. For the people of our own country, we didn't have military help for them. We're occupying Haiti right now, which keeps getting hammered with hurricane after hurricane. And it's part of an island that's occupied by Dominican Republic and Haiti, and yet Haiti gets hit solidly every time and Dominican Republic doesn't. So I think you have to look at what's really going on here and look at weather as a weapon and then disaster capitalism, and the same corporations that Cindy was pointing out are making money on rescuing these poor countries that are getting hit with weather. So anyway, that John Perkins talks about this, and he wrote Economic Hitman, and then his later book, Secret History of American Empire, he talks about the tsunami in Indonesia, and they had negotiated a contract with the government to get a portion of the resources, the revenue from the forest and the oil, and that tsunami knocked out their area, and they had to deal with the people that were killed, and they were back to square one with their negotiation. But Indonesia is a very important country for oil, strategic location, and they were just recently hit with not only an earthquake, but a volcano at the same time, which I think if you were an odds maker in Las Vegas, you would say that could never happen. It should have two major events happening exactly simultaneously. Oh, Pakistan flood. Russia has actually accused the United States of using HAARP to create the extreme heat that they experienced this summer and the fires that they were having. And I've talked about this on the radio show, which a lot of the shows are still up, and we will be putting the better ones on Rosalind's website. My website's not big enough, but Agriculture Defense. But this goes way back. In 1966, Dr. Gordon J.F. MacDonald stated, or he wrote, that the key to geophysical warfare is the identification of environmental instabilities to which the addition of a small amount of energy would release vastly greater amounts of energy. So if you focus, say, HAARP onto an area and add energy there, like a fault line, you can create an earthquake. So if you pulse it, and Bearden has some of the best work on how to create an earthquake. And this is all Tesla technology. And William Cohen, he was Secretary of Defense under Clinton. In 1997, at a conference on terrorism in Athens, Georgia, he stated, "Others are engaging even in an eco-type of terrorism, whereby they can alter the climate, set off volcanoes, earthquakes, remotely, through the use of electromagnetic instruments. It's real, and that's the reason why we have to intensify our efforts." So that was 1997. That was William Cohen, our Secretary of Defense under Clinton. So scientists say that a typical hurricane can release more than 130 quadrillion joules of wind energy a day.